We plan on taking our Bronco on some trails later this month, and as I was packing everything up for our adventure, I asked myself, I wonder how many people know what to bring with when going off-roading. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a basic rundown on what you should bring with if you plan on going off-roading in your rig. The first thing you need to do before hitting the trails is actually filling your gas tank up. Now, I know a lot of you are probably questioning, why is it so important to fill your gas tank up? Well, it's actually pretty simple. If you end up in a spot on a trail where your vehicle is at a weird angle, and depending on where your pickup is in your gas tank, it may not be able to actually pick up the fuel to be able to deliver to the engine. So in that case, if you end up being too low on fuel, you'll end up being stuck in a spot, and if there's anybody behind you, you're going to be holding up the entire trail then. So before you hit the trails, go over to a gas station and fill your tank up to full. Now, even if you are only going in for a couple of hours, you never know which situation you're going to be in once you're on those trails, so just go ahead and get that tank filled up. Next on my list is recovery gear. And now recovery gear is probably the most important thing on this list. Now, recovery gear is going to be able to get you out of any sticky situation, especially if you don't have a winch. Now, if you are going to be doing off-roading a lot, I highly recommend to buy a winch for your rig because it can really save yourself or a buddy from a situation where you end up getting stuck or anything along those lines. Now, as far as recovery gear goes, you should have two different straps inside your bag, one being a longer strap and the other being a shorter. But not only should you have a strap, you should also have a kinetic rope inside your bag. The kinetic rope is a very useful tool when you're out on the trails. The kinetic rope is actually going to stretch 30% more than a regular strap. So this way, when you are pulling on something, you can actually use all the force because the kinetic rope will almost work as a bungee at that point. So essentially, if you tug really hard, you're not going to break that strap and you're not going to hurt something on the truck because of how a kinetic rope is made. Now, something else you should bring inside that recovery bag are shackles. You can either have a hard shackle or a soft shackle, whichever you prefer, but this is going to be a good idea to have because you'll be able to hook up anywhere on a vehicle to be able to get someone out of a sticky situation. Another thing you should think about before hitting the trails is installing an onboard air system or at least bringing a portable air compressor with you. Now, the main point of having one of these is so that you can air down on the trail or even air up if you need to. And of course, after you're done on the trails, if you did air down beforehand, you want to air up if you are driving your vehicle back home. Now, if you don't know what an onboard air system is, it's basically installing an air compressor onto your rig. Now, essentially with an onboard air system, you'll be able to air up or air down at any point in time. And I know what you're thinking, isn't that the same as a portable air compressor? It is, but with an onboard air system, you're actually able to air up to almost 250 PSI with some of these products that the companies make, and you'll be able to do it very quickly. So an onboard air system, you might be able to pump up a huge tire in 10-15 seconds versus your portable air compressor where it's going to take you some time. So think about one of those two before you start hitting the trails because it's important to always manage your tire pressures while you're off-roading. Now, the next thing on my list is pretty controversial, and that's about bringing a full-size spare with you. Now, a lot of guys don't bring a full-size spare and they just bring a tire repair kit, and 9 out of 10 times you can end up repairing that puncture hole with a tire repair kit. But there is times where a tire repair kit just won't help you. Now, let's say you're on the trail and you end up bending a wheel, cracking a wheel, or just damaging a wheel to the point where it no longer holds air. Well, unfortunately, a tire repair kit isn't going to be able to help you out in that scenario. So that's why I think having a full-size spare is a better idea than just having that tire repair kit with you. Now, a lot of people think that you won't end up damaging a wheel that bad to the point where it can't hold air, but things do happen while you're out on these trails, and it's a good idea to just be fully prepared for any situation that's going to be thrown at you. So in my opinion, I think it's a good idea to have a full-size spare with you. Last on my list is bringing tools, a jack, and some fluids with you. Whether you're wheeling a Bronco, Jeep, Tacoma, or whatever kind of rig, they're going to end up breaking. And when it does break, you don't want to be on the trail stranded somewhere without any tools or anything to be able to help you get back on the road. Now, if you are going to be out there on the trails, definitely bring some essential hand tools with you. It's a good idea to pack a small toolbox or a small tool bag with all the tools that you could need to be able to fix your vehicle if something does happen. Now another thing I do recommend to bring is a jack. No matter if you're bringing a small jack, large jack, either way, it's a good idea to have a jack. I mean, we were just talking about if you damage a wheel or if you puncture a tire, you're not going to be able to fix either of those things without having a jack with you. And believe it or not, a jack can actually get you out of some sticky situations. No matter if you're stuck, lodged up on something, you'd be surprised at what a jack can do in a situation like that. Now another thing to bring is fluids. Now you want to bring coolant, oil, and brake fluid. You never know what is going to happen on those trails, and the last thing you want to do is be stranded because you're out of coolant or out of oil or out of brake fluid. Now of course, if you are out of one of those things, there's probably a larger problem at hand, but at least you're going to have the fluids to maybe be able to limp it back to a spot where you can end up fixing it or so forth. This is a very basic rundown of what you should bring with if you are planning to hit the trails on the weekend in your vehicle. Now I know there's a lot more that we could add to this list, but I think this is a good start for the beginners that are out there that are just starting to get into this scene. Now if you do have any tips or tricks, drop it down in the comments section below, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we drive, we all enjoy doing the exact same thing, and that's going out and having some fun in our off-road rigs. Now it's time to drop a gear and disappear. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you need any off-road parts, don't forget to click the link down below in the description.